Hey fam, it's so good to see you guys again. Well, you guys can't see me, but well, you know what I'm trying to say. Um, Thank you so much for the post and Elevated Conversations group. Right now, I want to share a message with you. Something that like really just hit home is don't go through tests and don't learn the lesson. It's very important on our journey to of self care and self love. It is also self awareness. And that's something that we really have to be mindful of because in every test, there's always a lesson. And a lot of times I feel like we end up having the same test over and over again because we haven't really learned the lesson. And until we actually hone it and master it, we'll continue to have those type of obstacles or situations. So if you think about a situation in your life that's recurring, you might want to ask yourself, what's the lesson, and like do the work and dig deep to try to find a solution. So I'll be very transparent as always. One of the things that I struggle with is control. I have been in the past a control freak. I have like to have control over things. I like to plan, and I like to the extent that I would do anything to make sure that things work out the way that I want to. Like I will impose my will on something. I will, even if you have to like manipulate the situation, be persuasive, whatever words you want to say, but to keep things in control. Honestly, a lot of that came from growing up. I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over things. Like I didn't have a lot of control in my life. Things that happened to me, it seemed like I was just being dragged from situation to situation. My mom had me when she was 16. You know, we moved a lot. She was in the military, and just like so much things. And one of the things about your ego and trauma is like when you're very young, you have something that's traumatic that happens to you, and it really creates a story for yourself. And you have to be very mindful of the stories that you tell because it really shapes your perception and the view of the way that you look at things. It took me a while to learn that, and I guess the best way that I learned was from a story that one of my therapists she told me. So basically, she said, imagine that you walked into an arena, right? For like a networking event. Like you know how they have like the little different events where you go and you meet people, right? And she was like, imagine that you walk in and you see that everybody is like already grouped off into groups and everybody's talking to each other. She was like, when you walk in, you could think to yourself, oh wow, this is so cool, look at all these people, everybody's in groups, and you could like walk and you could go be in the different groups and stuff like that, and you can like make all these things happen, right? But other people, like, but some people, the way that they think is they'll walk in, they'll see everybody in groups, and they're like, oh my god, this is so overwhelming, it's too much, it's too many people, everybody's already in groups, they're not going to be accepting of me, they're not going to want to talk to me, so I might as well leave. And then that person will leave. And she goes, and it's like two people walked into the exact same place, and technically they saw the same thing, but they saw two separate things. That story for me has always really been an allegory. It helps me be more understanding because it reminds me that my point of view, my perception, my common sense, and my reality is not always everybody else's. But then also reminding me that my perception and the way that I see things truly creates my outcome, right? So if I'm the person that felt that way, like, oh my God, this is so scary, it's overwhelming, everybody's already grouped together, they're going to be against me, I'm alone, and then I leave, well, that was my outcome. That's what I felt, and that was my reality, but that may not have been true. Versus if I stayed and like I start networking and talking to people and make the opportunity to deepen relationships. And so being a person that likes to have control over things or like to kind of see where things is going, like I'm an ultimate planner, like I'm a visionary, so I always have a vision for my life or my future, or the way that the way I want things to be. And nothing is wrong with being a visionary. It's great to have vision. People like us, we're needed because other people can't always see that far ahead, and so we're here to help them. But also remember, it's not just about the end goal, it's also about how you get to the end goal too, right? Making sure that you get to your vision in ethical ways, but also the way that's most beneficial to you, meaning the ways that's going to help you grow and make you stronger, so that way when you get to the vision, you're ready for it, right? So anyway, I've struggled a lot with that personally. That story that I tell myself is like, sometimes I feel like, well, I'm the only one. Like, I'm the only one that's here for me. I'm the only person that's going to support me. I'm the only person that is going to get things done. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. And a lot of times you hold on so tight to that, that I want it to be done this way and I'm the only person that can do it. And it really comes down to, if you break that feeling down, it comes down to a lack of trust. Like, essentially is, I have trust issues. I don't trust other people to be for me the way that I am for them. I don't trust other people to be able to see my vision. I don't trust other people to be able to follow up and support me. And that's a problem, because at the end of the day, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, didn't create us to be alone. Like, that's why we're always here together. Like, one person can't just evolve and like make more people. Like, it doesn't work like that. Not with people. We need each other, just for all the basic fundamentals of life. And you have to be open. And a lot of times that ego and the trauma and the experiences that we have in life, a lot of times it teaches us, oh, don't trust people, like, don't deal with people, they don't love you like you love them, they don't have the same heart that you have. But really, the lessons that we learn, maybe it needs to be different. Like, maybe it teaches us like when to trust somebody, or who to trust, or when not to be as, vulnerable, or put everything out there, not to change who we are in our dealings with people, but just to change our mindset, and maybe to give us empathy and to be able to see things from a different point of view. Honestly, I've had difficult relationships with other people a lot. Even like from a young age, there's people in your life that you expect that's supposed to love you and be there for you, and we have expectations of people, and sometimes they don't meet those expectations, and that helps create that story that we build upon. But anyway, all of these things made up parts of who I am, the things that I struggle with. So it's like, even knowing that, I still have to be mindful of it and work on it. So, because sometimes I get into a position where I want to be in control of everything, so it's like I'm squeezing it to try to make everything fit the way that I want it to fit. Like, I'm literally willing things into the way that it's supposed to go, but sometimes that's not always the best way for it to go. So what happens is, it's like sand. It's like when you try to hold on to a bunch of sand, it all just starts to come through your fingers, and you might have a grip on it, but at the same time, the more you hold on it, the more room you're giving for it to sleep out. And notice my hand gesture. So like when I'm making a fist and you're holding on, when you're holding on and your hands are closed like this, you're not able to accept anything, right? Because your hands are closed off. So instead, I want to be open to things, right? And you can't be open to anything if you're trying to control everything. Because in your mind, this is the best way, when maybe God, or maybe, the people around you, they're saying, well, I see something bigger than you can see. But if you're not open to it, if you're already closed off, then, you're going to end up missing out on a lot of things, right? And when you open your hands back up, you're going to realize that what you thought you had in your hand, you really didn't have. And that's the thing about control. It's like, you really don't control anybody else but yourself. And the harder you try to control other people, trust me, I have tried so hard to control other people in other situations, whether it's been at work or at home. If my ex-husband, I've tried so hard to make people fit into the perception of what I want them to be. And the more that you do that, the more you realize that you can't do it. Like, it's impossible. But what I have learned through self-awareness, and actually trying to realize that every time I'm pointing a finger, like, to look back at myself, because a lot of times I find myself in situations where I'm like, ugh, I can't stand this person, I hate that they always do this and stuff like that. And the more that I looked at that situation, the more it was reflecting back on me. These are also traits that I have that I don't like, right? But it's a lot different, because you can have the exact same trait as somebody else and it'll drive you crazy that they have it, but you're oblivious to it yourself, right? So I try to be aware of those types of things, aware of what the triggers are. And so this week I've had a lot of things just fall outside of control, like outside of my control, outside of my realm. It was outside of me. So at that point I had done everything that I could do, and there was nothing that I could change, right? There's nothing that I could do to make things go back to be the way that I wanted to be. Because at that point it was like, okay, my hands is out. It literally took for me to get to the end of my rope, literally trying every technique, everything that I know, to get to the end of my rope and just be like, okay, I surrender. Like, not that I give up, but I surrender. Like, I put my hands up. I realized that if it's for me, it's for me. It's going to work out. Let me step back. Let me step away because I'm too far into it. I'm too emotional. I can't separate it right now. And I'm angry. And I'm just like, I'm not even thinking clearly. So I did that. I gave myself that I surrender moment. I went to sleep. Like, probably had some tears up in there. I went to sleep, and then I woke up the next day and I felt calmer, and I was actually able to think things through. And what I thought to myself was, every situation that I was in, if I had thought about it differently then, like when I walked into the arena, if y'all are still following me from the beginning of the video, if I had thought about it differently then the outcomes could have been different. Right? Even my perception, just a small change in my perception could have made everything different. So it's just giving myself the time to go back over and to think about that, but not to be hard on myself or be like, girl, you're supposed to know better than this, but to just be like, okay, this is still an opportunity for me. This is something that I'm still struggling with. So, maybe I didn't act the way that I want to act at that moment, but at the same time, I realized it. And I was able to have that self-awareness, which actually gave me some moments of growth. So you know how it is. As soon as you feel like you learn something and you accomplish it, guess what? Something else happens right afterwards. And it gives you the opportunity to see, okay, have I truly grown? How am I really going to respond to it? I'm very grateful for my friends. I think that you have to surround yourself with strong people. But I was talking to one of my friends, and I was, telling her the situation. She goes, Elle, you're one of those people, you have to talk things out to process it out. Like, I have to say it. So y'all know I'm talkative, but I have to process things out. She goes, maybe next time, instead of processing it out to that person, because, when you're kind of in a battle with someone, they're not really listening to you. You may not even be listening to them. It's basically like a fight over who you listen to me, right? She goes, but maybe what you should do is you say, okay, you know what? I'm in this situation right now. I'll talk to you later. Process it on your own, and then when you come back, you'll be more open to understand things from both sides, and you can process things better. And when I heard that, like, I'm not gonna lie, the first time she tried to give me advice, I wasn't ready to listen to it. Like, you have to know yourself. I wasn't ready. But as things started to go on, and I realized the value in what that person was saying, and then I was able to implement that later on. So anyway, all of that to say, in our time of growth and our self-love and our hashtag woke AF and, lighting all your crystals and all that type of stuff. I said lighting crystals, Lord. Having all your crystals, lighted incense, lighted sage, and all that type of stuff. It's all great. But at the same time, we really have to really connect back with ourselves and go deeper, right? And really find out what are those triggers and what do we have to learn, because anything that triggers us, and I really just want to impress upon you, anything that triggers us is something that we need to heal. So if your spouse or somebody or anybody is making you mad and just triggering you and making you upset and stuff like that, that's now it's our responsibility to really do the work and figure out, why is this triggering me? Because if it is triggering me, then that's my area of opportunity, and it's something that I need to work on. But I can tell you this is you have to really put the ego aside. You have to really be vulnerable and honest with yourself and be like, oh, I was wrong. In my situation that I told you guys about a little bit earlier, I was really upset. But when I calmed down, I was able to see things from a different perspective. I said to myself, okay, shit, now this is the part that I don't like. Now I have to say that I'm wrong, and I don't like to admit that I'm wrong at all. That is the worst, and I don't know why. That's ego, right? But I don't like to admit that I'm wrong, but here I go. So it's okay, so even though this person did play their part, but I also played my part, so let me go ahead and say that I'm wrong and admit it and let it go, because that's the other big thing is really learning how to let it go. And I feel like you cannot truly let something go that is hurting you or something that is triggering you until you truly address your part in it. Wow. There's a lot of things that I feel like it happens to us in life, but our response to it also, that also makes a big, impact on the situation as well. So it's not until I get to the point to be aware enough that I'm able to actually be like, okay, you know what? This was my part in it. I was wrong. I apologize. You don't even have to say it back. You know what I'm saying? But when I got to that point and I was able to accept it, this amazing thing happened. I was able to let it go. you know, and I didn't have to think over it and over it and over it again and replay each scenario and be mad and be upset and be angry and be enraged. No, I realized what I did, and I was able to let it go. I was able to move on, and that's growth. So thank you guys for watching my video. If you catch me on a replay, let me know what you think about it. Remember, perception is everything. I appreciate you guys for watching. Stay strong, stay positive, and know that whatever challenges that you face, you're not alone. We're here, we support you, and thank you for being a part of Elevated Conversations. Bye guys.